Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus channel. The flight deck of an aircraft carrier is often described as one of the most dangerous places to work. This is due to the numerous aircraft taking off, landing, and taxiing in a relatively small, confined area. In the past, aircraft such as Gotha GV used to land on the sea and taxied their way toward the sled. The pilot used to attach the hook of the crane to the aircraft manually, and it was later hoisted aboard the carrier ship with the help of a crane. The U.S. Navy gained invaluable experience in some early landings and takeoffs. They tested, modified, and improved their arresting wires and catapults as experimentation continued. However, several airplanes crashed, flipped, and nosedived during this process. This resulted in fatalities and injuries of pilots and crewmen aboard the aircraft carrier. On May 12, 2015, an F-18 Super Hornet crashed into the Persian Gulf shortly after it launched from the USS Theodore Roosevelt. The weapons system officer and the pilot aboard the aircraft ejected about 2 miles away from the aircraft carrier. The pilot's parachute opened right before he touched the water. However, the weapons system officer's parachute failed to open, and he suffered several injuries. The aircraft sank deep into the ocean, and the loss was valued at more than $86 million. The U.S. military did not want to leave its highly advanced fighter jet with various classified technological secrets sitting at the bottom of the ocean. It took over a month to get the U.S. Navy divers and explosive ordnance disposal team to the site. Aboard the USNS Catawba was where they conducted a salvage diving operation off the coast of Bahrain to recover the aircraft. To conduct search and rescue (SAR) missions from a bird's view, aircraft carriers carry helicopters, such as MH-60 Seahawk. They aid in scouring through water bodies for survivors of emergency water landings. SAR helicopters are both fast and discreet, which allows them to operate in extreme environmental conditions and heavy winds. On September 12, 2014, 2 FA-18Cs crashed into the western Pacific Ocean 7 miles away from the USS Carl Vinson after colliding mid-air. Several helicopters were launched into the air in order to cover as much of the open sea as possible to search for and retrieve the missing pilots. Luckily, one of the pilots survived, but the other was presumed dead. Arresting an aircraft continuously on the same wire is an aggressive practice. However, an advanced arresting gear, AAG, is installed on the USS Gerald R. Ford that provides a higher operational tempo, clearing the aircraft from its flight path more efficiently. Before arresting an actual fighter jet using the AAG, the crew members perform routine tests on the arresting wires to identify any faults that might cause problems in the landing process. Stopping an aircraft using arresting wires is quite simple and does not require a lot of manual support aboard the aircraft carrier. To land on the flight deck, each plane requires a hook, which is attached to the plane's tail. The goal of the pilot is to snag the tail hook on one of the 4 arresting wires. If the tail hook snags an arresting wire, it pulls the wire out, and the hydraulic cylinder system absorbs the energy to stop the aircraft. Initially, the pilot should approach the deck at exactly the right angle and land after catching one of the arresting wires. The pilots mostly aim for the 3rd wire, as it is the safest and most effective target. As soon as the plane hits the deck, the pilot pushes the engines to full power. This is because if the tail hook fails to catch any of the arresting wires on the deck, the plane needs to be moving fast enough to take off again and come around for another attempt at landing. Over the years, a lot of incidents have occurred while landing on an aircraft carrier. Several reasons include human error, equipment failure, or something small but critical, like foreign object debris, FOD. However, what happened on March 18, 2016, with an E-2C Hawkeye approaching the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower was exceptional. As it was landing on the deck, one of the arresting cables hooked to the aircraft snapped, and the aircraft exceeded the runway. However, the pilot and his crew were able to react promptly and power up the plane's engines just in time to avoid hitting the ocean. Later, they circled around the aircraft carrier and attempted another landing. Based on the circumstances that the aircraft and the crew returned unharmed, each member was awarded the Armed Forces Air Medal for Valor. Crew members are trained throughout their careers for a wide range of unexpected events, including raging aircraft fires, all colored shirts managing different aspects of the flight deck operations actively collaborate at the time of crisis.
2, 3! Okay, let's go.
On April 11, 2011, a plane caught fire during a touch-and-go attempt on the USS Carl Vinson. One of the crew members reported it to the officials, and they immediately ordered the plane to land on board. Every flight deck has small fire trucks and nozzles leading to water tanks. As soon as the aircraft landed on the flight deck, the crew members sprayed water from the hoses and successfully extinguished the fire in no time. Later, they used a thermal imaging camera to narrow down the affected areas of the aircraft, and it proved to be a valuable asset in cooling down the very warm engine compartments. For such proactive thinking and readiness, the crew members were recognized with awards. It requires a lot of hard work and dedication to earn the yellow shirt of an aviation bosun's mate or aviation handler, ABH. The yellow shirts are capable of handling, moving, and securing aircraft and equipment. They are trained to perform a rescue, firefighting, and damage control duties, along with launching and recovering aircraft. The ABH students get hands-on experience in towing, spotting, and firefighting procedures at the ABHA school in Pensacola, Florida. Moreover, they even practice Ready Relevant Learning, RRL, virtual simulation, which enables them to operate the necessary equipment and fulfill their rating requirements. In the past, ABH students trained one at a time using an actual aircraft. But ever since RRL was introduced, the sailors have been receiving more realistic and safe hands-on virtual training, making it easier for them to earn the yellow shirt of the combat-ready ABH. The aircraft is launched with the help of a catapult monitored from the flight deck, Integrated Catapult Control Station, ICCS, also known as the Bubble. It combines current remote stations to provide intercommunication during each aircraft launch.
On the down, and there's the up. Fire.
On October 4th, 2015, an F-35C fighter jet landed on USS Dwight D. Eisenhower to conduct routine flight tests using the cable arresting system.
No power. 142, wind 26 to 20.
Later, it was launched using a catapult that allows an aircraft to take off from a very limited length of runway available on deck. The Bubble monitored the winds and provided the necessary information for the launch of the aircraft. Any job that requires you to be on an aircraft carrier is identified as dangerous. There are numerous possibilities of a disaster on the flight deck at all times, such as even a small jet engine might blow up the crew members on board. However, these possibilities can be reduced by being attentive and prepared at all times and staying calm when things go south. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.